Good morning, everyone. Welcome in. We're going to have a great stream today. We're trying out the new optimization of the IB. Make sure that we get everything minimized here. Oh, that's as low as it can go. We're going to tweak it for the day. What's going on, Steve? We're going to see which days we should be playing what, which days we should not be playing anything. Let me type this out real quick. What's going on, NQ Luke? Spate, how you doing? Vince, good morning. Lulu. Tan, how you doing? There we go. All right. Beautiful. Going to be optimizing this pretty much all day today. Just have to get the edgeful YouTube link up. Beautiful. It's not too loud anymore. Typing isn't too bad. I just subscribed to Edgeful. Very nice. What's going on, Daytick? Good morning, Evelina. Paul, how you doing? I set up the IB algo using the optimizer. Is that what you're referring to? Today we're going to be using the optimizer to identify what's the best way to go and run our algos. So by the end of the day today, we're going to understand, or by the end of the stream today, we're going to understand when the best times to go and trade the IB will be and what other adjustments we should make to it. Like specifically, just an example right now, as you can see, Fridays. So this is back tested over a year, by the way. 169 trades from May 16th to May 5th, May 16th of last year. We can see all the drawdown periods. We can see how bad the IB performed during July of last year. We can see November, April this year. The growth curve is still very much the upside. You can see that it was $11,000 in net profit trading MNQ, not trading NQ. This is MNQ. Profit factor is still 2.3. And we're going to specifically be analyzing like going short on a Friday for the past year, you're only up $58. So of those 23 trades that took place on a Friday that were short over the past year, you're better off just not taking those trades. It's still beneficial to trade it because you're still green, but it's only $58. So you're better off avoiding the headache. What's going on, Pip T? How you doing? Love the post on X with the clown. Glad you did. What's going on, Mark? How you doing? Do I stream every day? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. The IB's been very, very good to us recently. Very good to us. Two smooth Asia IB traces. Gotta love it. Yeah, I'll pull up that trade from last night as well. I didn't take it on Lucid. I took it on Tradeify. So we're gonna be trading Lucid today, not Tradeify. I'm almost done with evals, and then it's gonna be a 2-week waiting period. So I took funny enough, it did end up losing on the Asia IB last night. Globex open 8 o'clock, close at 9. I just front ran it. So I entered, I'm going to go down to the 1 minute for this so I can better explain what I did. Pip team, I'm sure you probably did along the same thing as well. I entered the IB at, make sure I get my screen up. There we go. I entered the IB at about 8:30. And I know that's super early to entering the IB, but I'm going to talk about this little discovery today. You can front run the IB. It's an inherent risk because you know that there's still 30 minutes that you could still take an IB low. For the most part, when we do it during New York session, it's a lot riskier, but during Globex and Asia session, the IB pivoting to the downside and making a new low over the course of 20 to 30 minutes when the IB is, I mean, the range that we had last night was almost 100 points for Asia. So entering at like 8:30, my entry was 29,660. My TP was the high that we made at 8:31, which was 29,681. That's where I ended up getting filled out of, I believe. Or better yet, you can hold the trade. If you know that it's going to be a long bias, you can hold the trade until 9 o'clock, which is when that high was made. We made the high at 8:59, 26,693. So I would have been able to hold that trade for another 10 points. I'm not going to do this during New York session. I am tweaking it a little bit during Asia and Globex to see how much we can get away with. But for the most part, if you front run it and you know that it's going to be a long bias, you can hold that trade until 9 o'clock. Even if it hits your full TP, even if you get to the point where, okay, I can run up to and through the IB high, because I know that if a new IB high gets made during this time frame, everything's fine for me to take that trade to the upside, because I know it's going to be a long bias. Your front rank gold too. It hit TP, literally melted and double broke right after. You didn't trade M&Q last night. I got you. What's going on, Wilddive? How you doing? Good morning. Good morning, Ash. Nice. That is very nice. But IB forms at 9:30, so it was a logic early. You can just take the trade early. It's adding risk on, but you know that it's going to have a continued move to the upside. That's it. So Globex IB is 6 to 7. Asia IB is 8 to 9. If you were in Globex IB, make sure that you do not take the trade into Asia, because those are two different IBs forming. It would be the equivalent of taking London sessions IB, which is 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and holding it all the way through New York's IB, which is 9:30 to 10:30. You're going to get two different reads on it. So last night we had Globex that worked beautifully. Globex could not have been any better. We opened at, if I can go and find it, there we go. There's our low, 1,800, 1,700, since M&Q is an hour ahead. So our Globex IB from last night, high to low. We had a crazy continuation over it, so it broke almost immediately at 7 o'clock. But what I'm saying is that you're not holding this trade into Asia session, because these are two different IBs that are formed. So obviously last night it lined up to the upside, but you're not taking a long bias when Asia session's signaling a short for the IB. It doesn't make sense. I have the IB algo. That's what we're going to be analyzing today. So it's going to be a really cool stream. And Waldive, you guys can't hear him. He's in the Discord live. He just made a comment in my ear that said, edgeful just makes it so easy with the data that they provide. He took a gap fill to the downside on QQQ for pre-market. We filled the gap already. We're down at 0.06 in the red now. So you'd be anticipating a move to the upside. We have a lot to cover pre-market. That's why I'm already talking quite a bit. My settings for the IB are going to be based off what we analyze and optimize today. My personal settings, I enter at 50% of the IB. That's what I look for. Do you have a setting for IB that can be shared on my TradeRate platform, 50 to 25%? Yeah, I draw those out by going into the drawing tools. So on the top left of your chart on TradeRate, drawing tools, it's the fourth tab down, third if you don't include the zoom in, zoom out. Fibonacci retracements, you'll draw this anywhere. Fibonacci retracements, you draw it in, double click on it. That brings up this menu. And I have 50 and 100 activated. That's it. So those are the only two that I put on there. And then you can change it to whatever colors you want as well. Where do you put your TP? What's your win rate? We're going to cover that today. So this is all going to be done with the optimizer on edgeful's new algo optimizer. What I was getting to, Waldive, is you're going to be excited with this one today, because if you look at the optimizer, it tells us what weekdays and what is our win loss for each given weekday, direction long or short, as well as if we have profit on those weekdays for long or short, if we have no profit, if our win rate is significantly lower. Specifically over the past year for MNQ on the IB bi-direction, we only have a 39% win rate if we go short on a Friday. We've had 9 out of 14 winning trades. So we're better off just not taking it on. We're better off not taking shorts on a Friday. Arguably the same thing for a Thursday. And you can note that a lot of these trades also don't have entries over the past year, which may be shocking, but that just means that all the short opportunities, there's been probably 5 or less of them, and those opportunities were just not entry material for the algo, so it didn't take it. So we can look at holdout periods, we can look at IB by standard breakout, we can go to the IB strategy. We can go to IB strategy with a break-even stop. We can go to contract sides, which is what I have on here. This is only 2 micros, by the way. So over the past year, if you trade on your own live account with 2 MNQ, meaning that your max risk was about $300 to $400 per trade, your profit factor was $12,000. 58% win rate, that does not matter. The only thing that you're looking at is your profit factor, which is 2.3. That means for every dollar that you lost, you made $2.30 over the past year. 169 total trades, average return $69 per trade. Max drawdown was $1,400. And that period was from, let's see, most recently actually. So your max drawdown was from March 20th of this year to April 13th, April 10th, $1,443 was your drawdown. So this is everything that we're going to be taking a look at today. And better yet, if you guys have other strategies that you want to look at, I will more than happily take a look at those. We have the orb strategy 2.0. We have the orb strategy break-even stop. These are all just the automatic algos that come with the optimizer. You can go into your library. You can add whichever favorite algos you have. So you can run a new optimization. I can run it on the orb, maybe with an IB added into it. We have Andre coming on stream later today as well. And better yet, you can start increasing your size based off the risk calculator. So I can go and increase this up to 6. It says that it was 2. And we go and run this, re-optimize. This is how fast it gets done, by the way. It optimizes 6,000 trades, 6,000 trading days. And it says max drawdown is unreachable. Of the 50 tested strategies, no strategy reached your threshold for max drawdown, not even the single best case scenario, meaning that if we size up to 6 micros with our max drawdown set to 3,000, it's too tight. There's no way that we can trade that quantity. So we can try 3. Let's try 3 micros and see if that optimizes anything. So doing all this, it's analyzing 30,000 combinations of trades based on all of our parameters down here, entry and exit. And it's either going to say that you can trade it this way or you cannot. So it looks like we have an IB score or an algo score of 92%, meaning that trading 3 micros is a little bit better than 2. Let's see if we can get up to 4 micros. I use it without using it, Trading Guru, if that makes sense. I use the IB in a mechanical approach on my own. So I don't have the algo running, but I do trade the IB itself. So I'll trade it during New York session. Without the IB, I enter at 50% of the IB and then my full TP, all that fun jazz. But this is an incredibly cool concept that they added on here. So it looks like we can get away with getting up to 4 micros. Our max drawdown was 2,888. And you can also go and click on any of these optimizations. The best one is 94. It shows you the equity curve, profit factor 2.3, win rate 60%, average return 133. And funny enough, our max drawdown was just barely under the 3,000 that I have set. So this max drawdown, the biggest equity drop the strategy had, only shows results that stayed under this. If the result is set to over 3,000, you'll only see results for the biggest drop stayed under 3,000. Yep. And the parameters I have to this is entry level is 0 to 50% with a max entry at 10%. Stop loss is 100% of the IB with a max stop loss at 25%. Profit target 1, profit target 2. I do not have profit target 2 activated. And then cancel entry if TP is reached. So you can turn that on. That is correct, yes. But I'm going to show you why it's so cool to see how many days it worked. So this is still optimized $22,000 over the past year with 4 micros. What it shows us, though, in this graph is where we're going wrong with the IB. So yes, if you're looking at the win rate itself, it's 59%. That's disgusting to a lot of people, but do not pay attention to the win rate. That's the worst statistic that you can go and look at for any trading strategy. You only want to look at the profit factor. The profit factor tells you for every dollar that you lose, this is how many dollars you make. Does everyone understand that? So for every dollar that I lose, I make $2.40. Better yet, we can go into, sorry about that, Big Chiller. Better yet, we can go down into this table and it shows weekday buy direction breakout, either a breakdown or break up. We have a 56% win rate over the past year on Mondays if we go long. Tuesdays, we have a 63% win rate if we go long. Over the past year, there's been no entry models on a short bias for Monday or Tuesday. There's been no long entry models on a Wednesday. Friday, However, we've had 7 trades where we've been able to go short. And of those 7 trades, only 4 of them have won. 4 of them have lost, excuse me. Meaning that we have a 36% win rate on a Friday. If we go and take that trade on a Friday, we only win 36% of the time, and that's $847 taken away from our IB. So what we can do is we can go into the customizations on this, or we can just note it for ourselves. If we see a short bias on a Friday, our total net profit was $22,782. We could avoid taking this loss completely. We can say if the IB is set short on a Friday, we're not taking it because this shows us that we have a terrible win rate on a Friday if it's a short bias. Simple as that. So we just don't take it. That's the optimizations that's part of the optimizations that we're going to be making today. So we're going to be analyzing a bunch of different variables for the IB. And we can also do this with, obviously we're going to be taking the IB trade today as well. It's a Thursday. Thursdays have a pretty good win rate for it, if it gives us an entry, that is. And we can go into the IB stats on the optimizer, and we can make sure that we identify which weekdays are going to have the worst parameters for us. And we can one thing that I learned from this is honestly I took a look at this last night. Fridays going short suck. So don't take a short on a Friday. But all the parameters we have on this, the IB, this is the growth curve for the IB, by the way, over the past year. What do you notice over the past 2 months? March 18th to present. It's flat. There's not really a growth to it. So over the past 2 months, we've been in a drawdown phase. But what happened after the other drawdown phases on this chart? And better yet, we can go and analyze it for 2 years too. I'll go and put it on our longest period of drawdown was last year, August to September 24th. So just under 2 months. And then we had 3 months of consecutive wins. We had a equity growth of 159%. So with us coming out of this drawdown period, April 10th to present, where the IB hasn't really been working, we should be anticipating a significant amount of profit coming up here. How many losing streaks? Well, you can see it kind of on the algo. December last year wasn't very good for the IB. And then honestly, the past 2 months haven't been that great for it either. The first 2 weeks of April were some of my worst. And then the second 2 weeks of March is when I started struggling with it. And you can see on the algo, that's also the same thing for the optimizer. So how would you take one of those optimizations and put it into TradingView? You can go and analyze. It's up to your preference. What I'm going to do specifically is on Fridays, I'm going to remove the short bias. So if Friday signals a short bias, no trade. No entry model, no trade on Fridays, no reason to enter into the trade because it's a 36% win rate if it's a short bias on a Friday. So that's part of the way that you can go and make optimizations. Oh, what's going on, Roland? How you doing? I moved my account to this Discord. Nice. I traded some evals last night and made too much money for consistency purposes. What's the best way to lose money without trying to place a trade and lose it that way? Go up to, I would say 20 micros, Pipti. This is what I do anyway. So go up to 20 micros on your chart on one account. So if you're copy trading on 5 accounts, you can go up to like 100 and just buy market, sell market. And that will get you down to your profit target with the fees alone. So you don't have to worry about winning or losing a trade. That's how I always have done it. And it's never harmed me. And you almost never make money trading that way. if you're buying and selling immediately. So you can put in on the algo not to take a sell on a Friday. Yes, correct. That is correct. I can go into the algo based on this optimizer. Oops, I got disconnected. I can go into the algos based on this optimizer, edgeful algos, algo optimizer. I can go into here and I can analyze whatever I want. I can analyze the orb. I can analyze the IB strategy. I can go to, let's use the orb, for example. For 2 TPs, we'll change it down to 2 micros. We'll just analyze it as it comes with all these settings placed. Optimize, it's looking at 3.7 million combinations right now. And you guys can see how, I mean, this is going decently fast. This is going to take a while. It's going to be 7 minutes. It's probably a pretty bad example to do, but yeah, we're not gonna watch that for 7 minutes. Just for the example's sake, we're gonna do the orb strategy with 1. There we go. That's a lot better. 711,000. 711,000 trades is what this is taking a look at right now. But once you go into those trades, you can take a look at just the specific ones that you want to take a look at. So if I know that, and again, we'll look at it once this is open and refreshed. If I know that the IB loses on a Friday when we're short, set the algo to not take shorts on a Friday. Simple as that. If I know the IB wins significantly on a Friday when we're long, then I could optimize the algo and say go in with a little bit more size on Fridays. So if you typically trade 2 MNQ on a Friday, you can trade 4 MNQ to the upside because the win rate is at 78% or 80%. How do you load it into your TradingView chart? You can do the same algo optimizations, but it's not going to be nearly as accurate. Algo's IB breakout strategy, not IB by rejection. Did I say IB by rejection on accident? The breakout should be along the same thing. It looks for the IB by rejection sub-report. So it's not really that much of a difference. Yeah, even if you're talking about TA on a chart, yes, pullbacks are needed. The market doesn't go directional forever. As I say that, we've been directional since March. But you either consolidate. I'll actually bring up this screenshot. Yeah, I'm going to show you right here. I have a screenshot that I want to put on this that is from the course. It's one of my favorite ones. I just got to scroll down to it real quick. There we go. So if we take a look at, and we can also line this up with the optimization on the algo, funny enough. We take a look at this screenshot. This is something that I made. This is how the market cycles. Also, before we get into this, I don't have a bias going into open. We don't have an inside or outside day. We opened perfectly flat, so both SPY and Qs. Qs ended up being inside, I think. Before I lose that screenshot. Yeah, Qs ended up being inside, so we have a small bullish bias on Qs. SPY opened right at previous day's high, and we actually just broke over it. So our gap fill stat maybe a little bit to the downside, but we're indicating a move up on Qs. It's not a very clean open right now. So not too much for us to look at. Anyway, this is how the market typically trades. You have bearish trends, consolidation, bullish trends, consolidation, bullish trends, consolidation, and so on. If you do not get a pullback you have capitulation after it almost every single time. So what we're expecting right now, you can also have consolidation after a move up. COVID's the best example that we have. The market is only buying bullish news right now. It's only buying. If you do not get pullbacks or consolidation, this was during COVID a lot more substantial than what we have right now. This was 140% move up in a year, followed by a 70% retracement the very next 6 months. That's what happens if you don't have pullbacks. So days like Monday this week, Tuesday this week, where we had a 2% drawdown and then it came right back up, those are some of your best pullbacks that you're going to get. Higher time frames probably going to have a pretty significant drawdown though. So probably August this year, maybe October, we'll have a pullback. I think it's going to be around Q2 earnings once we see how bad the repercussions were for oil being as high as it is. And then the one last question that I just saw, for anyone wondering what my profit was from yesterday, I went long to that previous day's high. Sorry, not previous day's high, opening week range high. I talked about this into the open yesterday. I went long, looking for a continuation to Monday's high. I knew that we probably weren't going to go all the way down to 696. We broke the IB high. That means that we had an 18% chance of going to 704, or we had an 83% chance to go to previous session's high, which we already broke. So 2 data points signaling long. As soon as we broke that inside bar stat, which again was 83%, 88% for total weekdays, 83% for a Wednesday, we only had a 10% chance to go and take previous day's low, which was opening week range low, and we only had an 18% chance to go to that IB low. So I went long. I had a stop loss at 25% of the IB, and I ended up holding the trade all the way up to previous day's high. And this was on SPY, not Qs. I was looking at the wrong one. So I took the long, 25% stop loss. Target was 740.80. So that was my $1,000 profit yesterday, 960 something and some change. Edgeful is looking too good recently. I'm thinking about buying it. Edgeful is incredible. I know I say that being affiliated with them, but I am extremely happy with how they've developed. I would not be turning the profit that I am without their analysis or the data reports. I don't trade the open, so sorry if we missed anything. Does Lucid allow algos? No, they do not. Almost no prop firms allow you to trade algos on them. There's very, very few. What's RVI? I did that once to lose 400. Yikes. That's rough. NVDA is all the way back up to 231. $2,320 a share based on their last split. All right, there is our inside bar taken on Q. So we now have no draw up or down on SPY and Qs. So we're only going to be waiting for the IB. And the other downside to this as well is that with where we are in the market right now, we also don't have any draws on higher time frames. We're at all-time highs. Today just made a new all-time high. That wick that we just saw was that's current all-time high, 744.84. So we have no price targets. We have no reason to drop today, though. If we go over to the reports on edgeful, oh, it's finalizing. Finally, 711. I think it's because I went off the screen, so that's my bad. Oh no! Please tell me that saved. Yes, it did. Okay. So the question from earlier, I know I'll jump back to the reports here real quick. You can go onto the orb and you can specify which days you want to take the strategy and which days you don't. So with the optimizer, that's the whole point of it. Anything that is green for the win rate here, 75% win rate on a Tuesday. It's had 21 trades, only 7 of them have lost. 62% win rate for a Monday. Monday's profit factor is a lot higher though. So even though you have a higher win rate on a Tuesday and it's only made 333, that means the losses have been a lot worse. You can avoid going short on Wednesdays. You can avoid going short on Tuesdays. And you can type this directly into the algo. And you can say, I do not, if there is a short bias on a Tuesday, I do not want you to take the trade. If there is a long bias on a Thursday, I do not want you to take the trade. If there is a short bias on a Wednesday, I do not want you to take the trade. And that way it optimizes it so it only takes your highest profit factors. The profit factor in total is 1.9 right now. If you remove the weekdays that you don't want it to trade on, you can probably bump that up to like a 2.5, 2.8. Most prop firms don't allow you to trade algos on them because they want you to make the human errors. Algos are a lot better. Anyway, going back to the chart now. For our inside bars on QQQ, we have a 90% chance that we go and break previous day's high or low when we open within it, which is what we just hit. We hit 716.65. You go back and look at the stat and go to the buy breakout report. Once we break previous day's high or low, there's only an 8% chance that it also hits previous day's high or low, meaning that for today, since we broke previous day's high, we only have an 8% chance that price goes and hits 704.83. That's it. So we are not anticipating price to go back down to previous day's low. We're anticipating it to hang up where it is right now, 716.67. Continuations up higher from there are expected. We are not expecting a pullback today. We don't want to look for it to go down. We've filled the gap. We were gap down 0.12% into open. If we go over to that gap fill by size stat, it was a gap between 0 and 0.19. 100% chance that the gap is filled over the past 6 months. We've had 14 of those gaps. 14 of them have filled. Gap down, 77% of them have filled, is which we just saw on Qs. So we're not anticipating downside. We're not anticipating downside on SPY. Outside day stat is taken. Inside day stat is taken on Qs. So it's a really clean open right now. We just don't have any price targets to the upside or downside now. I know Lucid used to allow algos and it was on the prop firm optimizer and edgeful. Maybe they still do. I may have misspoken. Gotta see if it's just me on stream today. I don't know if Andre is supposed to be on here. Let's see. I think Apex and My Funded Futures allow them according to Google. You can try it. The ES has a pretty high gap fill probability, so why would you avoid that stat today? It's already taken the outside day stat on ES. We already broke over previous day's high, so it's unlikely that it comes back down and re-breaks that level. Be interesting to see if we break 7,500. Is that where we are right now? That psych level is probably going to sweep by, I don't know what the equivalent would be on ES, but typically when we hit psych levels on NQ, we sweep them by a couple hundred points, like 200 points. So I think that would be the equivalent of ES going up to like 7,550 today, or 7,525 maybe, and then have a pullback from there. Market is extremely strong right now, though. Is there anything related to psych levels on edgeful? I don't believe so. It's not really something that you can analyze at psych levels because sometimes it rejects, sometimes it pushes right through. Psych levels are more of just a human observation. So I know that when NQ goes and hits either every 500 point increment, which is what we're well over right now, or when it goes and hits every 1,000 point increment, we have a very strong chance that we have a rejection or a continuation. So if we go down, if we go up to 30,000, which I think is the next draw on Qs, once we hit that, I think we're going to have a pretty nasty rejection. Or we go down to 29,000, we would have a pretty aggressive bounce, but it typically sweeps over those levels. So it doesn't go and stop. I really like putting price targets at psych levels. So if I was long on SPY into open, I probably would have put the PT at 7,500 because that's a very strong level that you go and hit or reject off of. However, I would not go and put the trade in at 7,500 anticipating higher, even though I'm anticipating it to go up to like 7,525. So psych levels are very good to play too. It's kind of wishy-washy once you get to that psych level. You don't really know which way it's going to continue. QQQ is probably going to 30,000 though. I imagine it's going to go right up to that psych level, because that's where we've been targeting for a long time. And this is a straight up right now. Go for it. Just no liquidity. Its market cap's only 929 million. It's not something that I would trade. It's, if you see a market cap that small, that means a single hedge fund that's, let's say, has 100 million. They could move the stock by 10%. If they bought or sold shares, they could move it by 10%. So what this probably means is that one of the pipe investors, one of the people that invested in it last week or early on, they probably sold their shares today, and it's only 100 million. That, I sound crazy saying it's only 100 million, but that's nothing to a hedge fund. That's a speculative buy for them. So they probably put 100 million into Robinhood Venture Fund, and they just took their profit today, and that's why it dropped 20%. Problem. This is mind-boggling to me that we are just straight up still. And we're all the way at 29,666 right now. It's a 200-point move into the open. There you go, Steve. 410 bucks. So 40-point move. NQ every 500 points and ES every 50 points. ES, I don't really know. I think ES is just every 100 points. NQ is every 100, 250, 500, and 1,000. ES will also be every 50 points. You can probably move it down to every 25. Algo just took profit. Yeah, that was a crazy 5-minute move on the algo. 5-minute orb algo just made a bag and a half. Very nice. 720 is coming in. It's very, very aggressive with the moves we're making right now, so I wouldn't anticipate that this goes too much higher. I think that we'll probably have a day very similar to what we had on Thursday last week, where it just face rips everyone into open, and then we pull back the entire rest of the day. It's pretty likely that we have a continuation back down, very similar to that. It's very likely that we have a continuation to the downside like we did last Thursday, or a reversal to the downside. We're continuing up a little too fast right now. So I'd like to see it at least cool off a little bit. I do have to actually put the transferred money into a live broker to trade futures on Webull, and I can actually move the money now. Started last Friday. It took so long. There we go. I got that money. I don't think we get down to London 50. I think that we're gonna. I just want to see that IB high get taken. I don't think that we're gonna get our London 50 model today. That's too low. But I'm just gonna be waiting for the IB. This is the same as trading last week. We don't have any opening week range draws. We don't have any previous all-time high draws. We don't know if price is going to continue like it did Friday last week, or if it's going to reverse like it did Thursday. So the only thing that we're going to be trading is the IB. And once the IB is broken, we're not going to be looking for reversals or continuations. We're just going to leave it where it is. Free money on longs every day? No kidding. No kidding. You cannot lose buying NQ right now. You say it as a joke, but it's not really a joke. I don't think so. I think you're better off just going long. It's ridiculous, but that's what the current state of the market is. I gotta refamiliarize myself with trading futures on Webull. I know that it goes pretty slow. Nice. Never lost when long, only when they trade to short accounts. Am I using the edgeful optimizer? Yes, we are. So we're going to use it today. In the meantime, we're just watching the chart right now, so we're not going to use it while we're looking for the IB trade, but specifically for the IB strategy, and we're going to put it on 2 micros again. IB duration entry is the 50% level, so that's a retracement entry level. Profit target 1, profit target 2. We're not going to put a profit target 2, and we're going to put cancel if TP is reached on first entry. Take a look at this real quick again, and more specifically, we're going to use this on days not to trade. Even though we use those IB stats typically, we're going to take a look at this and know that we have about 61% chance that we go short today. It's a Thursday. We don't have any data for the long bias, only for the short one. So if it's a long bias today, we're still going to go long, but we just don't have anything to optimize with that strategy. For tomorrow, if it is a short bias on a Friday, we will not be taking the trade. And then for everyone asking, how do you put this into TradingView? It has a prompt for you on the bottom. Once you run the algo, you can run this algo in your TradingView chart. Just copy each setting into your chart. And I think I can also, can I connect Webull in here? I can. Beautiful. So we might be live trading some futures on Webull next week. We'll see. Oh, I have no idea. Robinhood Ventures Fund, with how low of the market cap it has, it's going to move 10 to 20% like that routinely. Yeah. Thursday. See, we have a 77% chance for the IB to go and take the high today. I love Webull because it's kind of the only futures broker that allows you to transfer your profit into your wallet account instantly. Yeah, that's what I just took mistakenly, I took NQ instead of MNQ. I made 236 on it, 237.20. And then I'll go and transfer that money into a cash account and probably buy some shares with it. That will be the plan. Why not run the algo on Webull? Yeah, I'm gonna get it set up on Webull, Kyle. Is what I was just saying. If that wasn't apparent, sorry. So I put money into Webull. I put $3,000 into a Webull broker. I am going to run the algos, the edgeful algos on it. I do. I sold calls on them yesterday. Sold calls at $8. And then I sold covered calls on MSTX yesterday, and I am currently up $480 on that. I'm down 39,000 on the shares, but I'm chipping away. Covered calls, you don't have a risk ceiling. So puts, you buy it for $100, your risk is $100. Covered calls, you're hedging your shares, but you're also risking an unlimited amount. Because the shares could, you could, but since you have the shares, it's going to cancel out. The riskiest one that you can do, as long as you're not selling it naked. So if you don't have shares and you're selling naked covered calls, your risk is infinite. So if you did, that's why GameStop went up so much, because people were selling naked covered calls or they were short selling it. It's one and the same. And that was causing the shares to just increase forever and ever and ever and ever. Way too early to get into the IB right now. I'm going to run the algo on a cash account because there's no rules on the cash account. Prop firms have rules against algo trading. So we just looked at what prop firms allow algo trading. Actually, what prop firms don't allow algo trading. Restricted strategies, prohibited use of high frequency trading, latency arbitrage, and grid/martingale bots. Many firms ban or at least restrict bots, which is algos, that use the same strategy. You should be able to get away with it with using one trade a day, but if it says, like, Lucid has a detection script for it, they have about 14 people that get caught per month, 15 people that get caught per month. If your trades are done within the same microsecond as other accounts, then they'll ban you. No ifs, thens, and buts. So it's better. You're better off putting, if you get a payout, you're better off putting some of that payout into a private account, and then with that private account, start trading an algo on it, so you don't have to worry about any of the rules. That's what I'm going to be doing. I think that's the best form of using the algorithm. So I don't have, James does the same thing. James, one, can't really trade any futures accounts, but two, he doesn't want to abide by the rules that prop firms have. So on a live broker account, there's no consistency. You can take your payouts whenever you want. Yes, you are risking your own capital, but then again, you don't have to worry about, am I going to get moved live with this firm? Am I going to lose these profits because I was taken with an algo? Was the trade too short? Was the trade too long? Can I hold the trade overnight? Do I have to close it right at 4:15? So all the rules that you would have in a prop firm, you're better off just using the algorithm on your own account. So get a payout, move that payout into your own broker, and put the algo on that account. Top Step used to allow algos until people started making a crap ton of money with it on Project X, and now they no longer allow it. It's too early to get into the IB right now. It is looking good for long buys. We rejected pretty heavily off of 7,500, it looks like. So we swept over it by 3 points. Actually, it's not that big of a rejection. We only pushed down 9. Too early to get into the IB, though. We have 32 minutes that this can go and take a new low. What I'm personally anticipating today is a move like what we had last Thursday, May 7th. I think that we will get the break of the IB maybe to the upside. If not, then we'll completely switch our bias. This is just a waiting game, though. There's no point in trying to go long right now. We're below 50% of the IB. We're at 50% of the IB. We just hit a pretty significant psych level on MES. 7,500. MNQ rejected at 29,680, almost overnight session high. I would have liked to see it sweep that at least, but all in all, this isn't really that clean of a setup for us to go aggressive into today anyway. Why do prop firms discourage algos? What's the downside for them? Algos make more money than people do trading. Prop firms don't like you making money. They make money off of you blowing accounts. That has always been the business model of prop firms. It will always be the business model of prop firms. So if you use an algo that takes away your human ability to lose money, they do not like that. So they will not allow you to use an algo. Simple as that. They want you to blow your accounts. They want you to gamble. They want you to trade poorly on your accounts. That's why 97% of people that go and buy a prop account blow the account. 99.3% of traders, and this is from Lucid, 99.3% of traders that go live blow their account. So that includes the entire, if you have 100,000 traders trading on Lucid, 99,300 of those traders are unprofitable or lose money to the prop firm. 700 of those traders make money and take money from the prop firm. It is a very, very, very small sample size. So very few people make money from prop firm trading. I just made 175, 9 accounts using optimized MNQ 5-minute orb algo. Very nice. Very nice, Jeff. Holy recovery back up. This has given me actually the same eerie feeling as Monday this week. I got burnt on Monday going long. Even though the bias was set short, that bias did not set short until I can't go down to a 1 second chart, but it was 16 seconds before. It was 10:29:44 that we ended up changing the bias. So I entered at 10:27, 10:26. I was in the trade for 3 minutes, and then it switched the bias and went short. So I lost before the trade was even invalidated, which was a little disappointing. And those 700 still get banned. Those 700 get moved live. And I'm proud to say that I am one of the 700. I've taken more money from Lucid than I've spent. Same with Tradeify. Same with Top Step. Same with Apex. The only firm that I am net negative on is My Funded Futures, and I cannot fathom why I can't trade with them. I really struggle trading on those accounts. I don't know why, but that's the only firm I'm net negative with. Apex, my ROI is 1,000%. I spent 3,000. I took 30,000 out. Top Step, my ROI is about 400%. Lucid, I think it's like, thank you. Lucid, I think my ROI is like 1,500%. Those rapid accounts have a curse on me. They really do. They really do. The trailing intraday drawdown's getting me on those accounts. I haven't really been trading them. I've been trading Lucid, these accounts that you guys have been watching me trade for 2 weeks now. I've been a little dry on payouts. I haven't gotten a payout for like 3 weeks, but I'm building back the accounts that I lost. Tradeify, I've been right on the cusp of a $7,500 payout, and I just keep fumbling it. It's the consistency on there that's getting me. But also analyzing the algo, this is in my defense. Analyzing the IB algo, we can see that the past 2 months have been really bad for it. It's been in drawdown even for the mechanical approach, which really since the second week of March, it's when it went into this drawdown period. The second week of March is when I started cooling off a lot, but I really capitalized those first 2 months of the year. January, February, you can see that the growth curve was 47%, 3,739, which is what I capitalized on. That's when I got the Apex payout. Same with the beginning of the year, $1,000 just trading 2 micros. I did that over 30 different accounts, and they were all lined up for payouts at the same time. That's why I got so many payouts racked up back to back to back to back. And then the IB just hasn't really been working all that well for the past 2 months. The important note is you can see that the growth curve is green, deep, deep, deep green. So if you copy trade this over 10 accounts, this is $110,000 a year. If you copy trade it over, which is exactly what I did, I was copy trading 30 accounts from January to February, really January to the second week of March. So I made $97,000. 101 now with that Lucid payout, the Lucid bonus. Wasn't really a payout from Lucid. It was a $4,000 bonus, but 101,000 in payouts in the first 3 months of the year. And then essentially nothing for the past month and a half. Which options you say have no risk? Every trading strategy has a risk. My funded futures is my Achilles heel. It is mine as well. I cannot for the life of me pass. Well, I can pass the accounts, no problem. The 50K pros, I haven't used. I haven't used the flex accounts. I've only tried the rapids and the builder. The builder, so it's fine. The rapid accounts, I get to like $2,000 balance, and then I just I fold. I don't know what it is. Our current bias on the IB is set long. This isn't a bad place to be hovering right now in Qs. I kind of like where it's sitting. It's not bad. $30 accounts with the algos? No, 30 accounts with my own trading. So I had 20 Apex accounts. I had 5 Lucid. These are all funded accounts at the time, by the way. I had 20 funded Apex accounts. I had 5 Lucid accounts. I had 5 Tradeify accounts. I had 5, I guess I had 35. I had 5 My Funded Futures Rapid accounts. I took a 5K payout from My Funded Futures. I've spent, I think, like 10,000 total with them, unfortunately. Nothing to hide there. I can't get those accounts going for whatever reason. They're kind of pricey too, especially the resets. It's like 135 or 160 to reset it without the promo code. Lucid, I've only spent. I got moved live on my 21st funded account with Lucid, and my pass rate with them was, I want to say, like 40%. So in total, including these Lucid Max accounts that I'm on, I've had probably 80 Lucid accounts, 80 evals. So whatever that comes out to, I've spent in total. Were you long? A little too early for me to be long right now. I spent in total like 12,000 with Lucid, maybe a little bit more. Apex, you full forward and pass? No, I traded Apex. It took me a month to pass the accounts. I started them, or it took me like 3 weeks to pass the accounts, but it was only 1,500 profit target. It wasn't bad. I had 20 of the 25Ks. I caught 82 points on that move up with 5-minute orb optimized. My emotions could have lost about halfway, so it makes sense why algos are banned for some firms. Exactly. Do you full port evals? The honest answer, I somewhat do. I size up a lot more in evals now. The only reason I do, this isn't something that I advocate whatsoever, but the only reason that I size up on evals now is because I have the capital to lose. So it has somewhat turned into an ROI game for me. I know I made fun of Brian Stock for that a while back, but I'm also not spending 110,000 a month on churning evals. I do size up. If I usually trade like 4 micros, 2 micros, I'll trade 3 to 4. Yesterday, though, and this is very important to note, I did not size up a shit ton yesterday. Excuse me. I didn't size up a lot yesterday. What I did was I capitalized on like a 200 plus point move. So that IB broke yesterday. 480 was my, yeah, there. That's yesterday morning. So 29,480 was my target. I capitalized on 180 points. And I think I was in for 4 micros. My risk on the trade was 200. I ended up making 960, like 780 on it, 800, something around that. So I was up from the trade that I had overnight, which was a long to IB high from Globex. That was a nice win, or Asia Session Globex, one of the two. And then I capitalized on 180 points on a relatively small size. But the important note there is that the market moves, and that dictates how much profit I make. So a day like this, where we're chopping up and down, we're not really... We had a very directional opening candle, yes, but I don't trade the 15-minute open. This movement right now isn't really all that beneficial to us. We're chopping 50 to 60 points, this is not a day that you're going to go and turn $1,000 profit. The days that I make my most profit are days like yesterday where we have a very strong draw to that opening week range high. My entry was at 710. The equivalent of 710. I took the trade on SPY, so my entry was 738 and my exit was 740. 710 up to 714, 715 almost. So it's a $5 move. That's 200 points. Just shy of 200 points, 180. 180 points on one micro is $360. Two micros, $720. Four micros would be $1,400 off of 4 micro trades. So there's no reason for me to go in with 2 minis, 3 minis when the market's moving directionally and it's moving where I want it to go. And second, how do you establish a bias before the IB closes? You use other reports. So the IB goes along with the inside bar stat, which goes along with the gap fill by size, which goes along with the outside day stat. These are the 4 reports that I use: gap fill by size, inside bars, outside days. If we have an inside day, which we did on Qs, I'm bullish up to 716 or I'm bearish down to 704. Coming into open, we were opening at 715. So which one of those levels do you think we're going to go and hit first? 716 or 705, 704, 706, one of the two, 3. More likely that we just pivot up $1 and go hit that previous day's high. So that's the target that I have. That's my first bias going into the day. On top of that, you can stack the gap fill by size. We have a 77% chance that a gap down gets filled. We filled that on NQ. So that's a secondary bias added on. Do you still recommend Lucid as the best option? Absolutely. Apex did not unban me, no. They probably never will. If I were not banned on Apex, would you pick up 20, 25K new accounts and run them up? Probably. You're not muted, Big Chiller. I can hear you. I would. This is the same route that I would always go through. Is I would get 5 Lucid accounts. Those are the cheapest accounts in the space. Maybe Tradeify. Also, I'm going to plug myself here. It's always Code Zinc. Code Zinc for Lucid, Tradeify, and My Funded Futures. Those are the only 3 firms that I'm backed by. The other ones I either haven't used or I don't really care about using. So I would get either 5 25K growth with Tradeify, or I would get 5 25K pro with Lucid. Those are your best risk reward and best ROI potentials. I like the Lucid accounts because you can get 40% consistency versus 35 with Tradeify. You can get your payout in 3 days on a Lucid Pro. And when you get your payout, it increases your second payouts cap. So you can go and spend, this is exactly what I did. I made this post last week on Sunday. I turned $400 into $20,000 with Lucid over the course of 9 trading days. It was over 2 weeks. I bought 5 of the Lucid 25K Pros. I passed them first try, so there was no churn rate with those. And then I went and got 9 consecutive green days. The market was moving really, really well when I did. I'm going to bring up the optimizer again on edgeful. Algo optimizer. It was the IB strategy, and it was from this period right here, February 4th to March 18th. It was actually just the first 2 weeks of March. And if I'm going to bring up my X for this so you guys can see the screenshot profit that I had. Should be under like 9 days, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So that was my profit from the first 2 weeks of March, March 3rd to March 13th. If we go over to the algo optimizer, we can see that that is the specific time frame that we had the best run up. That's why I was able to make that profit. It wasn't because the market was moving or because the market wasn't moving. I wasn't sized up in positions. We can see very clearly on the algo optimizer from February 4th to March 18th, we had a 47% run up in equity. The IB was working. There was no drawdown. We did not have a single red day in those 6 weeks. That's why I was able to capitalize and make that kind of profit. It was 9 days, $465 is what I spent. I took out 20,000 and it ended up being 17,900 after the profit split. With the 25K pros, your first payout is 1,000. Every payout after that is 1,500. So my first payout was 5,000. Second payout was 7,500. Third payout was 7,500. 9 trading days because of how good the IB was during that time frame, how well it worked. Haven't done the same because the IB hasn't been working that well. I haven't been reading the market as well. The market's been relatively difficult for me to read, aside from yesterday. And honestly, the day before with that V-shape back up, I got lucky with an entry on that. That's why my profit has been so much for the past 2 days. Today, we haven't taken a trade yet. I didn't take a trade overnight. I took one on Tradeify, $200. That was it. For Lucid and taking the New York IB, we want an entry at 716.94. We're going to be targeting the high. If it doesn't give it to us today, so be it. Whatever. Am I willing to take the IB today if price stays around where it is now? Yes. Yes, I will. Why was March 3rd and 5th over 1K profit each? If I go and jump back to March 3rd, you're going to see exactly why. March 3rd and March 4th, I traded Globex on March 3rd. Keep that in mind. This was the move that we had. Better yet, I'll go back to M&Q so you can see how crazy that overnight opened, March 3rd. And this is the same point that I always make. My profit is dictated on what the market's doing. Which is what I did, I was in 2 micro shorts on Globex Open on March 3rd, March 2nd. 2 overnight shorts. We moved from 25,000 all the way down to 24,300. So a 700 point drop. And then we got to New York session. The IB was set long, and it was a move from 24,350 all the way back up to 24,850. 700 points down, 500 points right back up. That's 1,200 points in total for movement that day. That's why my profit was so much. And it was all signaled by the IB as well. The IB was set short for Globex. I rode the short bias down the entire way. I obviously did not trade it during this move down from midnight to 6 a.m. But more specifically, I capitalized on 2, maybe 3 M&Q on the IB, and the IB was 200 points. That's why my profit was so large on those days. So you want the market to be moving to get that kind of profit out. On a day like today, I'm not really going to get that much profit because the IB, one, it needs to give us an entry, but we're not really moving all that much today. It's relatively flat. I say that I know that we had a $3.50, opening candle, but you have to remember you cannot be a hindsight trader that only picks the winning trades. If I were to take this, right, am I going to secure at the tippy top of that second 5-minute candle, second 15-minute candle, or is it more likely that I probably lose some of my profits on that trade? It's probably more likely that I'm going to lose my profits as that candle just came back down 100 points. So you can't go and pick and choose which days you're going to be the best trader alive. You will not have access to only trading the best of the best trades. So you have to make sure that it gives you a good mental fatigue as well. If I go and look at this chart and I say, oh, I could have made 600 if I had taken longs on this candle. I would have lost 400 if I had taken longs on this candle, but I would have made 400 if I had taken shorts. I would have lost 200 if I had taken shorts here. I would have made 200 if I would have taken shorts here, yada, yada. You cannot go and pick and choose which days you're going to be long, short, the best trader alive. Hindsight traders never lose. There's not a single hindsight trader out there, though. Everyone is going to have mental fatigue. They're gonna look at a chart like this, and you're gonna say, "Oh man, if I had just gone long into open, I would have made this amount of money today." It is what it is. That's how trading is. But on the same note, like today, I would have been very happy if I had taken longs, obviously. But where am I going to sell that position? Am I going to hold that position all the way to the high that we've been making? Or am I probably going to sell it for like $150 profit, $200 profit? So at the very least, be respectful with the trades that you're trying to tell yourself that you would have taken. I wouldn't have taken these longs. If I had, yes, I would have made this amount of money. If I hadn't taken the longs, there's no risk reward, there's no loss for me. But it is a little sad that I'm not in long right now. We could have taken the long at 716.89. It's too early of a front run. If I had front ran the trade yesterday, I would have gotten burnt on it. We never went and took the IB low. I would have lost. If I had taken the shorts because the IB was signaling short yesterday, if I had taken them at 10.10, I lost. If I had taken them at 10.15, I lost. 10.20, I lost. This is why I have the 10.23 time frame as a rule. And I know a lot of you are probably like, well, this guy doesn't take trades on stream. He made all his profit after he got off stream yesterday. I very clearly stated why the bias was to the upside to 714.58, and that's just unfortunate that I capitalized on that after the stream ended. It is what it is. ES is very strong today. ES has been strong all week, honestly. ES is finally catching back up to where NQ is. NQ has been the stronger asset for months. ES is now taking over that strength a little bit. Yesterday, NQ was signaling a downside play for the IB. ES signaled the upside. That's why we didn't take the longs. We had a really nice short entry on Tuesday. Tuesday was ideal, actually. Tuesday, we went short at 10.26, 10.20, and then got full TP'd at 7.05, and that was with Dan on stream. That was a beautiful trade. And then Monday, I took a loss because I front ran it too early. I made an algo that trades your IB50, same rule as in live, but performance is bad. You know why that could be. There's other stipulations that go in with it, Gerbert. So yesterday would have been a loss if you didn't have the rule that SPY and QQQ need to be lined up. I didn't take the trade yesterday because of that. There's going to be losses with the strategy, though. The performance is going to be, if you're only doing it for the past 2 months, again, using the IB analyzer or optimizer on edgeful, the past 2 months, you're going to have drawdown. But you need to make sure that you're looking at the entire growth curve for it. And there's other rules that need to be put in place, like not entering before 10.23. Don't take the trade if SPY and QQQ are not synced. No entries at 25% unless the size is over a certain amount. Do you prefer Lucid Pro 25K or Lucid Flex? I prefer the Pro. I don't mind having the consistency in the funded account. The Flex account is okay. It's the same profit requirement to get your first payout, but your second and third payout, you're better off going with the Pro account. Kind of the same with the Tradeify growth. You're better off going with the 25K to start and then move up to the 50Ks once you get a few payouts. Lucid 25K Pros are always going to be my favorite, though. Those are by far the best account in the space right now, I believe. The risk reward that you get, it's not an expensive account by any means. The payout to profit requirement is the lowest that's going to be for a lot of trades. I am going to put an order for. We have a 100-point range on the IB, so I'm just going to go in with one MNQ. It's a $220 risk reward, so I'm going to put one MNQ long. We could go with two, but in the event that it loses, I don't want to be down 400 on the day. And I'm just now getting over the drawdown, so we can start sizing up after a couple $100 more profit. But for right now, there's no reason to size up. Ready to take longs? I am. I'm putting the limit buy order in. Limit buy one at 29,569 on MNQ. So long order. Limit buy one MNQ. $29,569. Full TP is up to 29,685, so 120-ish points. So a $240 risk reward on this trade. Just under 240, like 235. We have 3 minutes until the IB set. If SPY hits the IB 25, IB 50, I might take the trade on that first. SPY looks a lot stronger, so I'd rather take that. The only discouraging factor is that 7,500 is going to be a very significant rejection level. If you are going to take the trade on SPY, range is, let's see, 7,493, so it's 15 points. That's a $75 risk per micro. So you could go in with 2 micros for 150. You could go in with 3 for 225, or you can just go in with 1 micro on MNQ, and it's about the same as 3. Front ran the long at the top. Now it's in for a big loss. That's why we have the rules that we do. And keep in mind, guys, too, that all that commentary that I just had, that's what I mean by being a hindsight trader. If you go and look at the chart and you say that you would have caught every move perfectly every single day, yeah, you'd be the best trader alive. You would always win. You would never be in drawdown. You would never have a losing trade. But unfortunately, none of us are hindsight traders. We don't know what the market's going to do. So if you get complacent and you say, oh, I'm going to chase this trade up, I'm tired of waiting for my rules to hit, I'm going to chase it up to the 25% of the IB. Speaking of, I am going to put VWAP on here today. So VWAP is just over 50% of the IB. Angled up. So that respects the rules that Dan put forward. Dan's probably long on ES right now, if I had to guess. I am waiting for the IB 25, or IB 50, sorry. So we are going to go long at 50%. Limit buy order is set at 29,569. 1 MNQ, $240 risk reward. Give or take like $5. Do I talk about trading to other people? I try to. Yeah, I try to sometimes, but most people are just like, yeah, okay. I've tried getting some people on trading. I've told them, like, hey, listen, you can just take the IB, watch how the IB works with this model, or you can trade it during Globex if you don't have time during New York. They'll pursue it for like a week and then they'll just give up. That's what most people that trade do, though. That is correct, David. He doesn't trade ES. So I bet Dan's probably in. Better yet, I'll shoot him a message right now. I'm looking to get longs on NQ. I have my limit buy order set at 50%. I don't really want to go long at 25%, even though it looks really good right now. We have VWAP is flat to slightly angled up. I'm just going to be waiting for the 50%. SPY looks a lot stronger. that one's probably going to go and take the high real quick. If SPY takes the high, also I'm going to cancel the order on NQ. Quick one, why QQQ over NQ and SPY over S&P? So I trade on these charts. Very cool analysis that I mentioned to Andre yesterday. When ES and NQ futures were launched, 1997, I believe, is when ES was put in place. When they were launched, it was perfect. It was 1-to-1. So ES moved up, SPY moved up. SPY moved up, ES moved up. Because we're so high on ES right now and SPY, for ES to move up equal to what SPY is doing, SPY needs to now move up 8 cents, 8 to 10 cents. So every 8 cents that SPY moves up is a tick on ES. If we're watching ES right now, we can see that it's only moving one point, really. It's moving one tick every couple of seconds. 7503.75, 7503.3, 7503.5. If we take a look at ES is moving 8 to 20 cents over that time. Again, for ES, they're the same asset, by the way. For ES to move up or down, SPY needs to move 8 cents. Very rarely will this happen, but it does happen. For our high today, for instance, 746.38. If ES goes and takes that level, 746.38, and that is 6 cents, it's not 8 cents, it's 6 cents. Or excuse me, SPY goes and takes that level. It's a 6 cent move to take that high. And it happened yesterday, actually, right after we got off stream. ES will not take that level because it needs to move 8 cents for ES to replicate a move to the upside. And it happened yesterday when we were taking out that previous session high, Monday's high. If we go and draw a horizontal line here, draw it all the way out to the right, we can see that at, I'm still watching the trade on NQ. I can see the price moving in the top left of the screen. So I had the limit buy order set, no worry there. We can see that yesterday at about 12:15 is when we took that level. If we analyze that on SPY, it did take it at 12:15. If we go down to the 1 minute though, and get the exact level time, the exact time that it broke that previous day's high at 12:15 on the dot. And that was broken by previous session's high was 740.80. And we hit 740.84. That's not 8 cents, that's 6 cents. So if we go over to ES, that means that ES should not have taken the high at 12:15 yesterday. It means it probably took it at, I was in the trade for it, so I know it didn't. It probably took it at 12:22. So if we zoom out here, and of course I'm going to be wrong now. I did end up taking it, never mind. I'm an idiot. Actually, I drew it incorrectly. Hold on. I was in the trade for it, so I know I didn't miss something. There we go. Put the line. So there we go. Exactly what I was just saying. It did not take it until 12:22. And that was because this was one tick. 743.50, 2 ticks, sorry. It didn't take it until 7 minutes later. And that is because of the variance that we have on SPY and ES. So SPY went and took that level at 12:15 yesterday, and I have it drawn correctly because it's on the indicator. This is not me making a mistake. Monday at 1:45 was the high, and we can see that it took it at 12:15. ES did not take it until 12:22. So that's another 7 minutes that you're holding the trade that's not even valid anymore because SPY took the level, but ES did not. That's why I use SPY. QQQ isn't as bad, but QQQ does still have the same variance. So just keep that in mind if you're using those. Hopefully that answered your question. Probably not going to get an entry today, unfortunately. Look like it's just going to go right to the high. The IB25 is working really well right now, so we could Take 2M and Q there instead, maybe. It's been a really good week, so I'm not overly eager to get into a non-A plus setup right now. I will add in, I had the same emotions going into the trades earlier this week with not wanting to miss it. And what ended up happening was we got our entry on Monday. Same exact thing happened on Tuesday too. We got our entry even though it looked like it was going to continue crashing down. And Wednesday too. Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday was a really good trade. Wednesday we didn't take anything because Wednesday was diverged. Today we're just not lucky, unfortunately. Personally, I like this type of stream and I appreciate your honesty. There's no point in, I don't lie to myself with the trades that I take, so I don't see a reason to try and convey a false image. Yeah, there's no point in me lying. I don't want to. Go. You can go on the YouTube stream and rewind a little bit. The main reason I take it is because for every 8 cents that SPY moves up, ES has to move up 1 tick. So if SPY moves up 7 cents and it goes and takes a level, ES will not move up that tick and it won't go and take that level. Broke the IBI. Go ahead and cancel it over then. No entry today. Sorry, everyone. IB25 is goated, but I did not get it. It was a little too small for me to wanted the IB25 entry. So that's the 25%. We would have been in at 626, out at 686. So 60 points, $120 risk reward. So 2M and Q would have been the ideal entry. The IB25 trade is extremely scary, especially because it's negative risk reward. I've taken it very few times, but even the times that I have, it usually pulls back to like 40% of the IB. Very rarely does it go and immediately hit TP. And full TP hit on NQ. IB remains goated. 25 was goated for today. No entry on the 50, sadly. Still a very good looking day, at least. Entered using EMA. Nice trade. Too many lines on the chart for me. Too many lines for me, Rafshan. I just missed it today. There's not really any explanation for it. It didn't pull back enough, so it is what it is. Just the old family beach camp. Yeah, where I got married. I think a pullback to IB25 when the range is big is fine, but when you're chopping around, yeah, this was too small of a range for me to take it today. The one that I did take the entry on was on Friday last week, and you can see the difference between the sizes of the range today and last Friday. So I took the IB25 entry at 704, and it was an 80-point move. So I'll actually just drag that over. I don't need to copy and paste it. This is Friday's range in comparison to today's range. That's why I took the IB25 on Friday. You can see the difference between the range. It's a lot less likely. So the IB25 on Friday, the entry was essentially at the high that we're making right now. Whereas the 25% today was only at the midpoint of Friday's range. So I guess in essence, it would have been the same risk reward of the trade. $100 is probably the same as like 70 nowadays, maybe 50. And this isn't much relation, but there's a lot of different variables to it. Zins is the one that I remember the most from college. I never used Zins. I just remember all my friends buying them, and they used to be like $2. If anyone in chat remembers, like 4 years ago, Zins used to be $2 a case. And they are now, I see them in the windows when I go to gas stations, they're like 14, 10 to 14, depending. Maybe that's just in my region, but. Yeah, and they used to be dirt cheap. Yeah, there is a chat room, Thor. I'm reading them in here. I didn't see your. I was front running the IB. Yes, my order was set at 10.27, but we just didn't get a pullback. I bet you though, if I go and ask Dan, let's see. I bet he's probably already going to. Yeah, there he is. Don't even need to look him up. I bet you he's already going to post the win on that trade. Well, I can almost guarantee he entered at 25%, because that was a really nice looking one today. It's not within my parameters. It was basically a trend pullback on Friday. Today it was sitting around on a double top look. Yeah. I love trading with prop firms that let you risk the whole account. Yeah, I don't really like daily loss limits that much either. Another reason I like the 25K Pro so much. The 25K growth on Tradeify has a $600 daily loss limit, which limits your risk significantly. I am new to edgeful. Yeah, I've lost more than that in a single day, but it also just grows with the account size. No, I wouldn't be too worried. I'm new to edgeful. Can you maybe explain how you start your day, and if one report looks nice, which report you choose to back up? So the 4 reports that I use every day, I use inside bars, outside days, gap fill by size, and the initial balance by rejection. Those are the 4 that I go through. Inside bars, you're either inside previous day's range or outside previous day's range. Abhishek said, like you said, IB25 generally retraces more than usual. Yeah, most of the time that I get in at the 25, last Friday was a fluke for me. Most of the time I get it at 25% of the IB, it will retrace to 40%, maybe, and 50%. And I'll miss my optimal entry. What we can do is we can go and validate this on the algo optimizer again. So we can go and analyze the IB strategy. We don't need to have a break-even stop. Time frame 5 minute. Minimum profit factor, we'll look for 1.3. Minimum trades, we'll look for 30. IB duration, 60 minutes. Entry cutoff. So we'll have the entry cutoff be at 11 o'clock, because that's another rule that I have. 15-minute steps. And I'm gonna play around with this a lot more today too. I used it a lot yesterday night. Gold is also a long bias. If you want to take a trade on that, I don't really like trading gold during New York. We can also go and look at CL. Crude would also be a long bias. Did anyone happen to take those shorts I mentioned yesterday on crude? It happened to be high day. We had that double break. It was beautiful. Crude on a Thursday double breaks 40% of the time. So once the IB gets taken to the upside or downside, it has a 60% chance that it goes and takes the other IB. Dan, I was just talking about that. You definitely got the IB 25. I was looking on your Twitter for the recap. Okay, we got our optimization. There we go. Yesterday. Nice. All right, for the optimized IB, 2.47 profit factor with the entry cutoff at 11 o'clock. Now you guys can see why I put that in place. It was 2.3 prior to the cutoff. Now it's 2.4. The win rate jumped up 4%. And here are all our individual weekdays now. So we also, with the cutoff at 11 o'clock, we also completely eliminated the Friday losing streak. So that 36% win rate on shorts on a Friday is gone. We increased the win rate by about 4% over everything with the cutoff at 11 o'clock. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can go on here and analyze when SPY and Qs are diverged. The profit factor is also increased by another 900. The profit, sorry, not the profit factor. What do you mean I didn't trust? I trusted the IB today. I had an order set at the 50. Dan Cook trays. You were on the wrong YouTube. You can join on both YouTube. That's fine. Don't mind that. More views in here. So I had an order set at 50%. I just didn't get the entry to 50%. I had my order set at 29,569, and it just didn't go back to the 50% of the IB. It is what it is. It's fine. We've had a really good week. Crude is going right down to that low, and gold should be making a climb for that high, but I'm not trading gold during New York. The double break on QQQ happens when price breaks both the high and low of the IB. It did not happen today, or so far today anyway. I don't imagine it's going to happen today with how large the range is. The double breaks on NQ only happen 16% of the time, so it's not really something that you want to be analyzing or looking forward to. It's a very rare stat. Does not break often at all. Doesn't double break often at all. Double breaks ruin the odds, right? Yes, they do. Made that VWAP look beautiful on your chart. Dan, you'd be so happy. I even mentioned that the VWAP was angled up. I even said it. Said VWAP's angled to the upside. Dan's probably in this trade right now. He's probably taking this at this level and this at this level. And sure enough, you come in here right after and you did. Kind of wanted to trail but close that IB high, stay disciplined in hindsight, yada, yada. Absolutely. Don't be a hindsight trader. All right, guys, that will almost wrap it up. We do have another few minutes. If you have any last questions, you want to see something analyzed on the IB, you want to see something analyzed that's not the IB, or if you want to talk about what's going to happen on tomorrow's stream, we have Andre, myself, and Dan going live tomorrow. Not really, no. I think it's pretty accurately priced. I think it's at a good valuation. Yes, the retrace zinc 25.50 before breakout, please. I got you. I don't trade the retracements. I want to specify that very clearly. I don't trade after the IB's broken because the significant part of that stat is that when the IB breaks, you have a very, very large continuation chance. Whether it retraces to 10%, 20%, doesn't really happen all that often. If we go into the IB by retracement, initial balance by retracement on QQQ for let's just look at all weekdays, better yet. It only retraces to 50% half the time. For a breakout, which is what we're looking at today, we have a 61% chance for every weekday that it goes back to 20% and then it dies off. But the downside to this is you don't have a continuation chance to the upside. Meaning that when you retrace, so let's say today we retrace the 25% of the IB, you don't have an 80%, 90% stat that it goes back to the IB high. That is just telling you what the odds of retracing to the IB 25 is. So if you wanted to go short, that would be your play. You're shorting to 25, 20%, 30% of the IB retracement. That's your play with this data. The data does not say that when you retrace the 25%, you have a continuation to the upside. That doesn't make sense. So that's why I don't go long on the IB after the IB retraces by a certain amount. I look for it to go to and through the level, and then once that's hit for the day, I'm done. There's no additional trades. I'm not going to look for a continuation on profits. I'm just happy with my IB. I'm done for the day. Another thing for today, we're up 0.7% right now in SPY. Very unlikely that we have a crazy large continuation. But even then, this isn't a day that you want to go and push it. IB over ejections thing might tell that. That is only for the initial break of the IB, which only happens once. There's only one IB break per day. That's it. Some days you have two, and that would be a double break, but there's only one measured break. This does not tell you that once the IB retraces, it goes back to the high. The initial balance by retracement report tells you the odds that you have a continuation, a reversal back to 20%, 30%, 50%, or you can customize it to whatever retracements you want. You can add them. These are the ones that come pre-programmed. And it's not a very often stat. Doesn't happen very often. Looking at the optimizer, exactly what is their IB strategy? It has all the parameters right here, Brian. You can customize it to whatever you want. So I customize it to the IB50. The entry is 50%. Steps, I don't really know what that is. I just left it where it was. After price sweeps one side of the IB, how far it has to retrace back before you enter. That's what this one reads. So I don't have it set to anything. It's at 0. Stop loss is at 100% of the IB. Profit target is at 100% of the IB. So first profit target on the IB is either the IB high or the IB low. Cancel TP if entry, or cancel entry if TP is hit first. We have that on. I have it set to cutoff time at 11, and then duration of the IB is 60 minutes. So only looking for an entry between 9:30 and 11. And you can set this to whatever you want to use for the IB. I can go and set it to what they have, their IB strategy. But either way, you can see that the important factor here is knowing when the IB is working and when it's not. The first percent entry is 50%. I can also set it to 25 if I wanted to. And that will make it so it just enters between 50% and 25%. I'm only looking for the 50% entry, though. I don't want it to go to 25%. What's the first percent under profit target? 25% of the IB, which is the IB 25. So you can enter at 718.29, or you can continue up a little bit higher. Oh, very important. Very important. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, with scaling too, you can also use, I know I keep shouting this out, but I always use this risk calculator. You can use it for any portfolio too. It doesn't just have to be futures. This is, so if you have, let's say you have 5,000 in your portfolio, or 5,000. 15K is what you have. Okay. So your risk per trade recommended on here is 600. And that means that you have to have, I'll put 600 on there. You have to have 25 consecutive losses to lose the account with a 40% win rate. So you essentially have to be just a terrible trader, not trading the correct way. Or, so what the scaling factor of this is, once you get up to 10x that portfolio size, you don't risk the same 600. You're now risking 6,000. Or once you 2x your portfolio, which is why I don't worry about the profit loss on the trades. It's all percent based, right? Once you double your portfolio, you should now be risking 1,200 instead of 600. Not the same 600, but if you do risk the same 600, you have to lose 50 trades in a row, but your profit factor is also going to be significantly cut. You're not going to be making nearly as much as you were. So that's the scaling aspect to it. Dan Cook just said the risk calculator will probably tell you what you don't want to know. It's going to tell you to go slow. Exactly. All right, guys, that will do it for the stream today. A very productive one. We got a lot of optimizations done with the IB. We know not to enter before 11 o'clock. We know not to enter shorts on Fridays. What's your sizing on a 50K account to never blow it? Well, that's impossible to never blow it. But for a 50K account, you usually have 2,000 in drawdown. I like to risk about 240. And my win rate is between 60 and 70%. So I don't have too much worry about losing the account. It's pretty reliable. Yeah, we had a really good stream today. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see all of you tomorrow with Andre and Dan. Have a great rest of your day. See you later.